Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode of the Truth Room. And I know that we are normally here on Sundays, but we're doing a pop-up episode today. And today we are going to be talking about knowing your love languages. And for those of you who are not familiar with what love languages are, I'm going to give you all 5 of them first. And then from there, we're going to talk about what those things actually look like. We're in a world where a lot of times we know that as human beings, like, we need to be loved, and I feel like we've walked away from that human emotion that is so innate and the things that we need, and we just self-impose like our love on people. So I'm going to run down and I'm going to run through those first 5 love languages. But before I do that, if you are here right now, before you do anything else, I want you to push the share button, right? You're going to have some information running across the bottom of the screen. So as per usual, follow me on IG, follow us on all levels of social media, and we are excited to be here tonight. So here we go. Let's talk about it. Now, love languages are something that I was not familiar with prior to entering my relationship 5 years ago. And this was something that was brought to me super early on before I even knew that it was love, right? And I really believe that it was kind of like a gateway that he used to kind of get in the door, but it was cute. It was fun. And I actually ended up learning about myself and what I needed to actually, what I was looking for, or what I needed love to look like at that point in my life. So here we go. There are 5 love languages, and the first is words of affirmation. The second is acts of service. The third is receiving gifts. The fourth is quality time. And the fifth is physical touch, right? So those are all ways. Now, we know that there's plenty of ways that people can feel and need to be loved, but those are the 5 categories that it said that all love or expressions of love fall up under. So 5 years ago, when I first took the quiz, and you can find this just by going online and Googling love language quiz, and you'll be able to take it. And I think that is a really big, important part of self-awareness in your part in the relationship, right? All because of the fact that you can say, I want to be loved, I want to be loved, I want to be loved. But if you don't know what you actually need, then your partner is almost at a disadvantage in knowing how to do their part in order to love you. Because you can walk around and your partner can buy you gifts, but if you're a person that has a lot of things, you do not need your partner to buy you gifts. You are a person who may say, you know what, I just need quality time because I'm a woman who is constantly always around people that don't care anything about me. I'm a professional. I'm a boss. I have to, tell people what to do all day. And I just want somebody next to me that I can feel and I can love so that we can have quality time. Or I get beat down at work all day. And so words of affirmation are super important to me because I want to hear that I'm doing a good job. I want to have positive words that are coming my way. So for me, early on, it was words of affirmation and quality time, physical touch, and then acts of service, and receiving gifts was last, right? And for me, that was a direct correlation to where I was in my life at that time. At that time, I was coming out of a divorce. I didn't even need anything financially. I was making at that time the most money I had made in my life. And so me and my kids were in a really great place. So I didn't need anybody to necessarily buy me anything because I'm not one of those people that need super materialistic things anyways. So he sent me the quiz. I did the quiz and I learned and I understood where some of my other relationships went left, all because of the fact that I didn't have the tools or the words to be able to articulate what I needed. I was just saying what I was not getting, right? So what does that look like as far as like relationships and people on a day to day? And I think that we have to begin to understand that in relationships, communicating love languages should be something that that should be talked about prior to the word love even being used, all because of the fact that if you don't know what your partner needs, then you'll never be able to effectively grow in that relationship, right? So I think that if we don't take the time to sit down and have these conversations, right? We talk about all of this real freak nasty stuff. We talk about our favorite colors. We talk about all of these things in the earlier stages, but being able to have this conversation almost keeps you in a position to where you're not wasting a lot of time. If you have somebody that doesn't desire to talk about love or talk about love languages, then you have somebody that probably isn't coming into this situation intentionally, right? I've been having a lot of conversations lately with people that are talking about just the intentionality of dating and what that looks like and finding yourself and the journey to getting to the place of actually being able to have forever with somebody. Now, for me personally, those were my love languages. That was the order of my love languages 5 years ago. Where I am today, believe it or not, it's moved around. Physical touch is still kind of right there in the middle, but I don't need words of affirmation as much, right? And in the days that I do need them, I've realized that I need them because of a place that I had so many deficits, that I was looking for my partner to be the person that told me that I was worthy, as opposed to understanding that whether they felt that way or not, I still was worthy. So these are all tools that you can use when you're having these conversations to even be able to really begin to understand the mental state of your partner, right? So if physical touch is something that's at the top, why? Those are deep. Those are conversations that you can have to go deep. If words of affirmation are at the top, why? If I like things and that is at the top of my list, why? Right? So these are a really good baseline for you to be able to understand the person that you're actually, the psychology behind the person that you're dealing with. Now, I think that one of the things that I have written down here is love languages, right? Is it a deal breaker if you tell your partner, I need quality time and I need physical touch, but they were raised in a home where physical touch was not how they showed love, right? Physical touch was not how they showed love. So I was talking to a young lady about a month ago, and this conversation sticks out because I actually spoke to her about love languages, and she was talking about her and her husband and how, she needed a lot of touching and quality time. And he was like, but I took you on a date the other day. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you need quality time? I gave you quality time. We went on a date. And so for her, we kind of dissected and went through his childhood and how he really didn't have a lot of hands-on hugs. And we talked about people who come from hugs that, homes that where there's a lot of positive words, there's a lot of touch, there's a lot of hugs versus people who are raised off of, just what's understood don't need to be explained, right? So those are the type of people that are going to say, as long as you are showing me by doing things, whether that's providing or feeding me or just sitting on the sofa next to me, that person is going to look at how they need to be loved as far as quality time as just being on the sofa together. But if you have a partner that was raised in a house where everybody hugged, everybody touched, we held hands when we prayed, we sat at the dinner table together, you know that their quality time is going to be actually in, like, it's going to be engagement, right? So that's like those people that are like, I will never go to the movies on the first date, versus people that are like, I don't mind that the movies is the first date. Like, how I'm one of those people that movies as a first date, I think that it doesn't make any sense, just because how are you gonna talk? You can't talk and get to know people if you are going to a movie for a first date, unless you have like an extensive amount of time to where you set aside time to talk before and after the movie and different things like that. So my question to you all, and in your Play Black, I want you to leave it in the comments. Do you feel like somebody not loving you how you need to be loved is a deal breaker? Because now at 36, I've worked through a 5-year relationship, and I am beginning to understand that as much as we are aware of each other's love languages, is knowledge is one thing, but application is another, right? So if you know that your partner needs quality time, but you feel smothered by being able to give that person what it is that they need, or you feel robbed of your own identity because you have to give that person their version of love, is that a certain level of, like, is it compatible? Is it a relationship that can actually withstand? And that just goes into like how intentional you are choosing to be in your relationship, because I do believe that relationships are give and take. And I may have mentioned this on another pod, but my mentor, I will never forget it. The day that he said it, it was imprinted into my mind. And that was that there is no difference between compromise and settling, except for the emotion or the intent. So with compromising, you're coming to a mutual agreement that is mutually beneficial for everybody. Whenever you're dealing with settling, somebody is getting the short end of the stick and you feel took, right? So if you're in a situation to where you're feeling took by giving your partner your love language, you have to identify if that's the best place for you at this point in your life. And I feel like, we hear the word language and we hear the word love, but it's literally a version of communication. Because I'm never a person, my bonus aunt, she actually said something that made so much sense, right? We walk around all the time and we're saying, well, what's understood doesn't need to be explained. If you're still having a conversation with your partner, that means that it's not understood. So that means that you do need to continue to have that conversation until it doesn't need to be explained, because it's already been explained all the way out, if that makes sense, right? So we have to, when dealing with love languages, me and we're in the truth room, so I'll be like my version of transparent this week. As I have kind of found myself again, found my confidence, found my place, as a woman, as a mother, as a partner, going out into this world and navigating through my life as it is, I affirm myself, right? So it is nice for my partner to say nice things to me, but I don't need it as much as I needed it a year ago, 2 years ago, because baby, whether you say it or not, I am she and she is me and I am her. And so now that love language coming from my partner isn't as necessary, but I do desire acts of service, right? I be tired. I live in Michigan, and the difference between me and Michigan, and me in Florida is I don't have vitamin D. So whereas I could move around and I was always cleaning up and things were always in place when I was in Florida, it takes a little bit more out of me now to do certain things because I have a vitamin D deficiency. So my love language now is an act of service. Can you go to the grocery store for me? Can you do the load of laundry for me? Can you help with, homework? All because of the fact that I just need to lay down. And it's not because I'm lazy. It's because wait until the end of spring hit and wait until summertime comes and I'm back at it. So the level and the importance of the love languages can change, right? And I think that is super important that we give people a chance and give people grace. That's kind of where I am in my life. I'm at this point in my life where we give people grace and we realize that things can change, situations can change, desires can change. And that's not to give an excuse to say like, oh, I changed my mind, I don't want to do it anymore. You got to see it through. So when you realize and your partner has identified that I don't need for you to do the laundry as much anymore, but once I've done all of the laundry because I've been moving around, I do desire more quality time now, right? Or I would like for you to, give me a gift. So send me to get a pedicure because I'm doing more things around the house now, or send me to get a massage because I'm taking something off of your plate. So I would like for you to express love to me in the form of a gift. And I think that, I'm saying I think that because this is definitely all Jasmine, but I think that it's fair to say that we have to be willing to continue to have this conversation, not only in romantic relationships but also with our children. Me as a mom, I talked to my kids and I was like, well, what is it that you need from me? Now they haven't necessarily taken the love language quiz, but when they told me that I want you to say that I love you more and I want more hugs, I had to process that, because that was their way of saying that right now at this point of our lives, we need more of that. And they're teenagers, and you would think that your teenagers don't want those kinds of things, but as they try to find themselves, as they're trying to find their identity, the one constant in their life, my auntie would say, mama's baby's daddy's maybe. So as their mother, I'm a constant. And so therefore they're telling me, okay, I need to hear it more. And I tell my kids I love them every day. But now it's like I tell them throughout the day. I tell them at the end of the day. I tell them in the morning. I make sure that I allow them to take their almost the same size as me body and lay on me and allow them to have that physical touch, because at this place where the world is so confusing to them, they need me to love them that way. What does that look like with family, right? I think that with family, it looks like, okay, well, I would like you to take the kids for a day, or I would like for you to, come over and just sit with me and outside of Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter dinner. I just want to be able to have time to sit down and to talk. Or if you are a mother or a father, and you have kids, right? Or you have cousins, or you're a mother to adult kids, or you're a grandmother to grandkids, and you're realizing that words of affirmation are super important coming from the people that are closest to them, because they're still trying to find out who they are. So I feel like although love languages were originally created for the romantic married couple, I think that it's applicable across relationships. And our theme for the season is that we have to do better. And I think that learning to love each other how we need to be loved is super important. But with all of these to be said, I think that it's super important that you have boundaries and how you're willing to love somebody. So that poses the question of, when do I walk away because I realize that I can't give this person what they need? I saw a clip by I'm gonna butcher her name, Xenia Van, Oprah friend, Oprah mentor lady. and she made a clip, and she was talking to this young lady, and she basically told her that after a very long-term relationship, she had to look at her partner and say, you know what? He cannot love me how I need to be loved. He's never going to be able to love me how I need to be loved. And she ultimately had to, I think she said it was like a 15-year relationship. She had to end that relationship. And she had to end that relationship because it was torture for her to want something and love somebody, but them not be able to give the love back to her. So that's where this whole balance of compromise has to come up and say, well, are you being selfish and you just want what you want, or is this actually a true need, right? And for me, I realized that if a person feels something in that moment, it's real to them. And some people may feel like emotions are a construct, but it's a construct that comes from the perception of somebody's reality. So if you get I read this book years ago about millionaire success habits, right? And they talk about asking the person why 7 times, and when you do that, you actually get to the root cause of why somebody feels like they feel. So if you have somebody and you say, well, it don't take all that, right? It don't take me hugging and touching you all the time in order for you to feel love. So if you ask that person 7 times why they feel as though they need that particular version of love, and they're like, because I like to be around you. Okay, well, why do you like to be around you? Because you make me smile. Okay, you make me smile. I make you smile, but why do I make you smile? Because the conversations that we have. Okay, the conversation. Why? So the conversations that we have are important to me because I've never had that conversation in a partner before. Okay, why? Because at some point in my life, I felt as though I didn't need to be with somebody that talked. Well, why? Because I didn't get talked to at the dinner table as a child. So this is such a loaded topic, all because of the fact that I think that we take the quiz and we're like, oh, here we go, here's my 5 love languages, this is the order of them, and so this is how I need you to love me. Well, I have gone through a relationship where from the beginning we knew what each other's love languages was, but it still was a battle to actually learn how to love that person, even though you had like this study guide or you had this cheat code. People and human beings are super complex. And sometimes people just don't know why they even want what they want and need what they need. And so you still have to have these conversations that gets you to the baseline of why what your partner needs as love is super important, right? So I guess I want you guys to take a moment and actually think about a time, whether it was a romantic relationship, a familial relationship, or even a platonic relationship, and you needed a particular kind of love, and that person either could not or would not give it to you, and how it actually made you feel. Like, just take a moment and think about that, because one of the ways that I've learned to express love is through empathy. Not sympathy, but empathy. And that's why I said take that moment to think about your emotion in that moment. And it'll allow you to actually be able to understand why it's super important for somebody else to be loved how they need to be loved. And then you just have to ask yourself, am I losing too much of myself by giving you this? Right? And then it goes back to those 7 whys. Why do I feel like I'm giving too much of myself because I'm giving you this? And is it truly you settling or losing out on yourself, or is it just something that you're afraid to do? It's something that you're afraid to do because people have told you that you shouldn't have to change for nobody. People should love you as you are. But loving you as they are means that they have to get to the parts of you that they don't even know, right? So I heard something by I want to say it was TD Jakes, and he basically was saying that you give a person the opportunity to hurt you the closer they get to you. So if you really want somebody to love you how you need to be loved, you have to be willing to have a level of vulnerability that makes them be able to ask, well, why do you need that? And I think that how we ask that question is super important, because you never know the place that a person is coming from. But you need to be willing to say, okay, well, I need quality time, but my partner, um, quality time for him in his house has always just been to have a movie together. So if having a movie together is quality time for him, then how can I meet him in the middle? Is there a docu-series? Is there a show? Is there something that we can do to where I can meet him and then he in turn decides to meet me? Because I think that with love languages, it puts us in a place to where we're constantly giving and taking, because we're communicating through the things that a person is we're speaking a person's language, right? So you can't go to Spain and get mad because they don't speak English. That doesn't make any sense. How are you mad in Spain because you didn't do your due diligence to learn their language so that you would be able to immerse yourself in their culture? Right? So I think that sometimes we take emotions and relationships, and I live my life off of, like, nature will teach you so many things, and you can just make it super practical and just break it down. Now, you'll say in one relationship that I shouldn't have to do all that, but you know that if you're going into somebody's country, which is a foreign land, you need to at least learn their language so that you can communicate with them. Now, we do have a cheat code these days with Google and all that kind of Google translators, so you don't necessarily have to do it like you used to. But if you want an authentic interaction, then you're going to do your best to put in the work to be able to do that. So my question for you all is, how early do you think that you should actually learn a person's love language? Because like I said, this was before I even knew that love was going to be a thing. I think that he sent me that quiz probably maybe about 4 months in. He sent me that quiz, and we had a conversation. Now, granted, I ain't the only person that I think that was like a entrance exam or something like that. But um, that was very early on. So how early do you guys think that a conversation or trying to figure out each other's love language should actually happen? Because it did help us. It helped us navigate through a relationship. And I'm telling you about going into the why of the love languages early, because we went through the whys of the love language late. And there's a lot of things that we learned about ourselves, each other, the parameters of our relationship and what that needed to look like. And it was a little bit tougher than I think that in retrospect than what it needed to be. Right. And when you take the time to do the work in the beginning, it allows it to flow a little bit better on the back end, because you've put in all the hard work and you've laid the foundation for love communication, communication through words, actions, and being open to being able to what that looks like for those things to change. Right. Now for me, I think that one of the things that has changed as far as a love language goes is my need for physical touch in a sexual way, right? I think that I needed it a lot more as a brown skinned girl who, was over sexualized very early on in her life. And so that was something that I used to express quote unquote love to people, or for somebody to feel like I had somebody in the chokehold when even, and I'll tell you this, at 36 years old, I read something the other day that kind of just resonated all the way through my spine, okay, and checked me about why physical touch sexually should have never been at the top of my list. And it was basically, and my producer actually shared it. And it was a list of 20 things to young women. And it was a point in there where it was saying that young ladies, never allow a man to masturbate in you, right? And it's like, okay, wait a minute, Jasmine. We took a turn. Like, what does this have to do with love languages? We live in a society that is over sexualized, and a lot of times we equate that sexual physical touch as love, when it's really just a dopamine release. And so we get super high, and now we're mistaking basically masturbation between two human beings as a loving and genuine interaction, right? So if you'd have told me that in my early 20s that physical touch didn't need to be high up on my list, I would have looked at you like you were crazy, because that is what I use to express a certain kind of love to people. You tell me that now at 36, and you're absolutely right, because we ain't doing that, bro. Like, that's not what we're doing. That's not how we doing it. And that version of physical touch is not as important to me as it once was, right? So what do you do when the way that your partner says that they need to be loved changed, and you like that? You like showing them love that way. What do? How do you handle it? Do you argue? Do you go and find it somewhere else? Do you say, well, you know what? We just gonna end this right here, right now, because obviously I want to love you like that, and you telling me that that's not what you need anymore? Or do you say, you know what? Let me learn this new person. Let me learn the language that they're speaking. They've gone around the world, they lived life a little bit, and they have a new language. So let me learn this language. So do you feel like it's a bad thing that love languages change? And is that how important does consistency matter when it comes to love languages? And I'm not talking about that whole being all over the place. This week I want you to touch me, next week I want to be left alone, this week I want you to buy me something, and next week I don't need nothing. I don't need no man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about that kind of change. I'm talking about you married one person and life has lifed. Your relationship has relationshiped, and they now have different values based on where they are in life right now. So, being married in my own, in my own relationship, our dynamic has heavily shifted from physical touch being super sexual, physical touch being super intimate, right? And just being able to be in each other's presence, being able to have close proximity converse, being able to hold hands, being able to keep your feet warm because I'm anemic, and that it's an ice box where my feet used to be. You understand what I'm saying? Or understanding that, okay, I need your support in this season because my dynamic of my life is about to shift, and I'm no longer going to be a full-time entrepreneur, and I have to go into the space of working a 9 to 5 again. What is that? What do all of these things look like, right? What is it that you do when your partner says that, my love language right now in this season is to actually be alone, right? And those words of affirmation that I need from you is to say, I'm you being alone and figuring yourself out in this season. Do you feel robbed? Do you feel disrespected? Do you feel bamboozled? Or do you say, you know what? Like, I love you enough to speak your language. And I think that, I've had enough conversations throughout life to understand the app behind having these conversations either super early, because Steve Harvey will tell you like, oh, like, you don't want to tell a man too much because you'll basically tell him how to run game on you. But I think that that's where discernment and coming from and being able it to be a two-sided thing and asking those deeper questions to actually get to the root cause. Because I've dated a person who said that very early on, I don't want kids, I don't want marriage, I don't want this. And I proceeded to continue to date him and felt some type of way when the conversation and the narrative pointed in the direction of a person that was non-committal, right? And so I'm going to say this is Jazz evolving in her life, and we're in the truth room. You have to be okay with putting your toe in the water, to put just a little bit out there in order to see what you're gonna be able to get back. Because if you don't, now you're gridlocked and you're wasting time. As time is a gift, but it's something that you can never get back. So if you can establish early enough that how somebody needs to be loved, or they need to be liked, or they need to be endeared, if you know that ain't for you, then guess what you can do? You can walk away really early and just not waste their time. Okay, you can just not waste their time. Just not waste the time. Just walk away. So I ended up spending almost 2 years with the person, back and not shit, but back and forth, going in this dynamic, and only for me to be the person that says like, okay, no, I'm not doing this. But Jasmine, you could have said that 2 years ago when you went to lunch for the first time, and this is not what I want. So being able to have this conversation, and you don't even have to call it love language if you in the early phases and you just date, and just ask a person just straight up, like, how is it that you like people to show you that they care? Right? It can be just as simple as that. How do you like for people to show you that they care? And then that person will be able to express to you the things that they need. Oh, okay, well, I want a gym partner, or I'm trying to do this in life, and this is where I want to go. So, I personally am a person that when I'm a fixer, I'm a solver. So one of the ways that I show love, whether somebody wants it or not, is to be a solution to a problem, right? Or to find a creative way to be able to get things done. And that was one of the things that jumped out. I found out later on with my partner that said, like, I said that I wanted to do this, and you just went ahead and woo, 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 woo. And it was like, yeah, I did. But I'm going to tell you this too, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes loving somebody how you love people and then getting mad when they don't accept that type of love is not fair to you, and it's not fair to them. Just because you want to love somebody a particular way and they don't respond to your love how you feel like they should respond to it, you cannot get mad if a person says, well, I didn't ask you to do that. You have to be okay with loving, giving the love that you give, and literally not accepting anything in return, and giving it an opportunity for it to be a genuine encounter that says, I'm giving this to you with no expectation. And I think that's where a lot of us mess up, right? We have these conversations or we do things for people and we get mad because they're not doing cartwheels and they're not happy because you did it. I don't care that you spent $1,000 on a bag for me. I enjoy putting looks together at the thrift store. I enjoy finding deals and being creative in my expression of my clothes. I enjoy traveling. I'm not the person that likes bags. So, fellas, you mad because you don't spend all this money and she just looking at you like, okay. And you're expecting me to do what? Because you spend $1,000, right? When you literally could have just found out what her favorite color was or her favorite thing to do, and y'all did that together and only spent $50. You can't be mad because she doesn't want to put out. You can't be mad because she goes over to and spends time with the person that actually is sitting there and, either gaming with her, coloring books with her, cooking in the kitchen with her. And you mad and calling him bum and broke and her silly because you spent $1,000. Ladies, same thing for us. You can't be mad because you don't watch this man draws. You don't clean up his house. You done did all of the things that a wife was supposed to do when he was like, my mama taught me how to do that. Like, I don't need you to do that. I just need somebody that I can sit down and talk to. Or I just need somebody that is going to be able to make me laugh. Or I just need somebody who likes me back because I'm tired of liking people that don't like me. And I think that that's where this conversation kind of comes into play, in understanding not only what the other person needs, but what it is that you have to offer and how you're going to respond if that isn't met with what you're looking for it to be met with, right? So for me, in past relationships and different things like that, after my marriage, I made a promise to myself that I would never go into a relationship or any other situation again without asking the hard questions, right? And I think that a really good place for us to and to kind of digress and wind down tonight is with that subject. And we've talked about what love languages is. We've talked about what they look like. We talked about all of these different scenarios, but what is knowing without application? What is knowing without actually, without actually putting it into place and allowing it the fruit to return back to you? Like, so planting a seed and allowing the fruits of your labor to come back and prove themselves to you. So you can sit here and have this first date conversation or this 6-month conversation or this 1-year conversation with a person and say, well, I know my partner's love language. And your partner looking like, yeah, you know my love language, but you ain't loving me how I need to be loved. So figuring out creative and fun ways to meet that person that has this particular love need, there and not belittling it, right? And saying and comparing what that person needs So you discern your partner's love language, but then you tell them how other men or women would be happy if they got what you were getting, all what you were giving, all because of the fact that that's what they need, right? And so let's not go into those conversations that always say that they would be super happy in a situation because they hear what you're doing for your partner, or they hear how you loving your partner, and they're not getting that love. And then when that love comes to them and it becomes a norm for them, and their own love languages start to change, now you're in the same situation because you listen to somebody say, well, oh, I would appreciate that, I would love that. And then you say, okay, well, my person that I'm giving it to, because you don't appreciate it, and you giving it to somebody else, and now that person changes, that person grows, that person finds out more about themselves. You affirm them so much that they don't need affirmations, they have a positive outlook, and so now they want you to start buying them stuff. So you went from the person that needed you to buy stuff, and now you with the person that didn't need you to buy stuff. They needed words of affirmation, but now that they're super confident, they want the bag, the purse, the shoes, and the outfit to match that confidence. So I think that it's super important that when we're having this conversation about love languages, is being able to actually see it through, being able to actually have adult wherewithal to be able to say that the grass is greener where I freaking water it. The grass is greener, I till it. The grass is greener where I plant seeds. The grass is greener where I don't people to trample all over it. And take a look at it like that, because we are in this microwave society that says, well, I know what you like, I'm doing it this week, and we shouldn't have no more problems. But the reality of it is how consistent can you be in that? Actually it will, it'll be playback. It should upload to Facebook instantly, and then it'll be available live tomorrow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to listen to it while you're working out or listen to it while you're driving. So yes, Amber, it will be. But these are all things that we have to take into consideration. And I'm still surprised to this day how many people don't know what love languages actually are. So if you're just coming in and you've never actually heard or know what a love language is, and I think that once the live uploads, I'm actually going to even put a link in the comments to this live so that you can take that quiz for yourself. But it's words of affirmation, it's acts of services, it's receiving gifts, it's quality time, it's physical touch, right? And however those things, and those are the umbrellas. And so however those things play out in your life and whatever it is that you need, those are the umbrella that they want all of these things to fall up under. And you figure out how to love your partner that way. I am so grateful for the fact that I came across these, because it basically gave me a place to be able to start. It gave me a starting point, because my whole life I went, dating and having, like sexual relationships and non-sexual relationships, and I did all of those things, and it was really just aimless. It was aimless because I didn't even know what I needed what I was trying to get out of them, right? I didn't even know what I needed from them. And so I was just taking what people had to give and still never feeling satisfied. So how does love language play a part in who you are? Is it helps you to understand what are you willing to tolerate? What are you willing to tolerate? What are you not willing to tolerate? If I know that I have healed, if I know that I am healing and things may change, I know what I need the people in my life to be to me. And if you can't be that, this is not only a tool that you can use to love people, it's also a tool that you can use to dismiss people. And I talked about that a little bit earlier in the podcast, but it's it's okay. It's okay to use these tools to dismiss people, because you understand and you know that you're not gonna serve my love the way it needs to be served. And so start asking yourself, as you're dealing with these, like, these love languages, what is the deal breaker? And I know that at some point, everybody's parents, auntie, cousin, your best old lady friend at your job has told you, baby, what I need for you to do is you need to figure out what you can live with and what you can't live without. So using these 5 things as a gauge as to deciding whether or not you can actually live with or without something is super important too. And think about whether or not if a person tells you that they need something from you, whether or not you actually feel robbed by giving it to them. Because I'm also learning in life that different people bring out different things. So what a person may feel robbed by giving you does not mean that they're going to feel robbed to give it to somebody else, right? And we have these relationships, and you see this person go on from you, and in 6 months they have this epiphany, and they're married and they're children and they're happy and they're doing all of these things. But that's because of the fact that they don't feel robbed. They don't feel robbed. Or that person may say that, you know what, I don't need all that. And you're like, okay, bet you don't need all that. I'm going to give it to you anyways. Right. I had a conversation and someone said to me, it was like, I'm probably going to want to give you XYZ and you're not going to even want it anymore. Probably, because as I continue to evolve and I know where my strength and my confidence and my security comes from, there's a lot less things that I need people to do as far as like boosting and priming me up than what I did before. Okay, so I want you all to take some time to actually like reflect on this. Take the quiz with your partner. Take the quiz alone. If you take the quiz alone and you don't have a partner that you can share it with, learn to love yourself via your love languages, right? So I did this 30-day challenge that I have on Recycle right now. It's actually 31 days and I have it on Recycle, and it's a self-love challenge. So I buy myself flowers. I go and get my nails done. I bake a good. I listen to a new song. I find a new activity. So knowing my love language at this season in my life is me understanding how I can love me as well. We are in a society about healing is, the healing and self-love and finding yourself. The moment that you identify, what your love language is, give that to yourself. Give yourself an act of service. You know what I'm saying? Buy yourself lunch. Give yourself quality time. Ball up in a ball and read a book. Give yourself words of affirmation. Go in there, girl, put your ponytail high up, put your wig on, put your lip gloss and your lashes on and tell you, girl, you fine. Sir, you fine. Baby, that belly going down and I can see my feet again. Be the things that you need to be so that when somebody else comes and gives it to you, you're able to receive it. And you can know how much weight that actually holds in your life. And then it's not your partner's responsibility to carry the whole love, the whole load of loving you via your love language. And then that also gives you an opportunity to give yourself grace. Because just think about it. If it's hard for you to do all of the things that I just did for yourself, how are you going to actually receive that from somebody else? We think that we be ready and we wanting stuff, and then you can't even take a compliment. Or you think that somebody's saying it and they trying to figure out a way to get over on you. So practice the love languages on yourself. I know that, like I said, I know that this is something that usually comes off as two people, but and this is just, and I'm telling y'all getting it hot off the press. Because I hadn't even made the correlation that my 31 days that I have in Recycle was me using my love languages on myself, right? I'm listening to songs that telling me, girl, you can do it. Like, you can do it. You got this. I'm listening. God, that's gospel, rap, R&B. Everything that I'm pouring into me is words of affirmation, right? If I'm going to the gym and I'm working out, I'm playing the songs that tell me I got a donk donk, because I need those kinds of words of affirmation. So just do that. I'm reading books more because I've always been a book reader, and I'm learning to enjoy quality time. Don't always need to go out with your girls to turn up. Don't always need your man to be the person that take you out. Don't always be like your girl to be the person that takes you out if that's the thing in your life, and just go do it for yourself. So knowing your love language is going to help not only your interpersonal relationships, but your self relationship. And I think that that's something that we need to put back on the table, in realizing that self-love isn't just two words that you need to say, but it's a lifestyle that you need to live, and that communicating with your partner is going to be the way that you are going to push through in order to make your relationship be a healthy, not a settling one, but a compromising one that will allow you all to be effective, happy, and whole. You can't have relationship goals. You can't have boss chick goals. You can't have boss man goals if you're not doing the steps that a person is taking to get there. And that starts with understanding your love languages, understanding how to love yourself, being at peace, being happy, having self-care, and then being able to be a light to the world to say, this is what it looks like when you love yourself. So, with that being said, thank you all for hopping on and spending time with me and tuning in to Self-Love. Come back with us next week, and we will be more than happy to continue these conversations that we're having in the Truth Room up under this season's theme, which is You Got to Do Better. So this is Jazzy Vols, and I am signing off, and I will see you all next week on Sunday, 6 p.m.